Little Josie Duggar has never been one to speak out. Born into a family with strict regulations, strong religious beliefs, and following orders, nothing in her life had ever truly been hers. Long before she could comprehend the concept of free will, everyone else decided on her every move, from her wardrobe to her speech to her beliefs. As a child, she was subject to her parents' rigorous Christian views, which meant that she had to keep her mouth shut, do no wrong, and always think in accordance with her parents' expectations. For a long time, Josie thought that was the way life should be, a never-ending loop of playing the victim. The flawless persona she had always known, however, started to show signs of deterioration as she got older. The world outside was so different. She realized people laughed more, made more mistakes, and still managed to be happy. As she began to doubt these expectations, she saw her older sisters falter under them. Although some of them remained faithful, others subtly withered away. Still, a tiny voice within her murmured that things may be different if she just looked. Justin was someone she met during this chaotic period. His views on humility, purity, and unwavering faith differed from those of their church community. Working in a local small auto shop, Justin was an honest man who valued character above superficiality. He was also a kind-hearted young man. They happened to cross paths by chance, and their initial chat was ordinary, just two individuals discussing literature and aspirations. What began as a casual conversation, however, evolved into something more profound, something Josie had never felt before. Instead of viewing her as the renowned Duggar daughter, he heard her out as an individual with her own thoughts and opinions. In that instant, Josie knew she had been noticed. For her, unrequited love constituted disobedience, so the fact that she felt heard was terrifying. Time elapsed. They met behind closed doors, exchanged letters, and discussed taboo topics at home: equality, optimism, dread, and affection. Justin never once requested that she alter her identity. He merely urged her to form her own opinions. Instead of trying to separate her from her family, he guided her toward the understanding that she should be free to choose her own path in life. She found both her rescue and her damnation in that realization. Nothing had changed within the Duggar house. Family Bible readings, pre-meal prayers, and the never-ending discussion of faith and obedience. It was clear that Josie's emotions had left him. Even though she had felt protected behind those walls before, she now felt confined. She felt as if every sermon on the subject of purity was a heavy weight hanging over her. Michelle, her mother, always urged her to put her faith in God and do what the family did. Screaming was on Josie's mind. No longer could she be her parents' shadow, no matter how much she loved them. There came a point when Josie realized she couldn't keep her connection with Justin a secret any longer. She worried about her parents' reactions. They might be taken aback. They might reprimand her, but they would definitely empathize with her. She was incorrect. She worked up the nerve to speak one night after supper. She spoke despite her shaking voice. She informed them that she had fallen in love with a man and was planning to marry him. The ear grew frigid as soon as she spoke. As if she had compromised all that her father, Jim Bob, stood for, he gazed at her. Incredulousness welled up in Michelle's eyes as she clenched her Bible even more tightly. At first, there was only stillness and no fury. After that, the questioning began, never-ending, stinging inquiries. How did he get here? Was their church his spiritual home? Did he make it? Were his beliefs compatible with theirs? Things were made worse by Josie's responses. Her admission that Justin didn't belong there made Jim Bob's expression tighten. He said that was sinful. He said that the world and its temptations were leading her astray. Michelle begged her not to put her soul on the line for a boy she hardly knew, warning that love without faith was bound to fail. Yet Josie remained unwavering. She did her best to reassure him that Justin wasn't hostile to God. His uniqueness was undeniable. He was genuine, helpful, and wonderful. He held strong principles and he honored them. He was adored her without condition. But her statements were ignored. Love that didn't have her parents' blessing was considered rebellion in their eyes. They considered it an act of defiance and a mark against the family's honor. The dispute continued for quite a while. A house that had once seemed holy became a battleground as voices raised and tears were shed. She was accused by Jim Bob of betraying all they had taught her. Seeing her daughter ruin her own future broke Michelle's heart, and she sobbed. Josie, though, was not enraged. She felt utter desperation. She was trying to get her point across. It was to realize that love might live apart from regulations and anxiety. But her words were meaningless. Jim Bob's voice, icy and final, finally cut through the den. She would no longer be welcomed in their home. He warned her if she wed Justin. It served as no caution. The sentence was brief. With her kids staring at her, Michelle averted her gaze. Even those who had taught her forgiveness and love turned their backs on her. That night, Josie sat in her room by herself, enveloped in the silence of a house that no longer had any sense of belonging. Upon glancing at the pictures displayed on the wall, she came to the realization that the majority of those smiles were artificial. She had put the needs of others before her own. But for the first time in her life, she was going to follow her passions. The sun came up and Josie started to gather her belongings. The bravery to face whatever happened next, together with a little bag and a few articles of clothing. She couldn't help but love her family. Love, she had realized, was not about dominating, but it did not diminish her profound affection for them. The crisp morning air greeted her as she emerged from the house. She had a sensation she hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. At once, it was both beautiful and terrible. Waiting for him was Justin somewhere down the road. What was ahead was a mystery to her. Despite the hardship, perhaps even the remorse, she was certain of one thing. At long last, she was authoring her own narrative. That was the last straw that caused Josie Duggar to abandon the community that had nurtured her, motivated by optimism rather than animosity. A pale and silent sky greeted Josie as she departed from her family's home that morning. Instead of a sunrise that brought joy, it was a sunrise that brought sorrow and bravery. There was a heaviness in her step as she walked away from that residence. A slight relief, nevertheless, came with each breath she drew. Walking towards something unknown was a first for her. Her own future, not someone else's. It was a terrifying sight to see Justin standing at the end of the road next to the weathered vehicle. "Smile," he didn't say. No one asked her to explain to him. His expression was one of subtle comprehension as he gazed at her. After jumping in, Josie left behind the one and only world she had ever known. There was more than just quiet between them. It weighed her down with the weight of unfulfilled promises and the recent loss of everything she held dear. They hid a tiny apartment that Justin had been fixing up for weeks, after hours of driving through sleepy towns. There wasn't much, just a cramped living area with an old couch and echoing walls. However, Josie experienced a sense of liberation. As far as she was concerned, it was her first truly independent residence. To live, to speak, or even to smile, she didn't have to seek anybody for permission. However, she quickly discovered that there was a price to pay for independence. She had no idea how tough life would be away from her family. Groceries needed to be purchased, bills needed to be paid, and decisions needed to be made without anyone's direction. While Justin put in long hours at the shop, Josie attempted to adapt to the mundane routine of her new existence. I felt out of place being alone for hours after growing up in the household with 19 siblings and helping out with everything. She longed for the incessant chatter and continual motion of her loved ones. Nothing is sacred, not even the regimen she despised. Sitting at the window and staring at the city light, she would sometimes wonder if her parents missed her. Weeks stretched into days. Josie bore invisible wounds despite Justin's best efforts to put her at ease. Dreams in which her mother's voice beckoned her would occasionally awaken her. Once in a while, she'd go to text her sisters but then realize that they stopped responding. There were no words to describe how her family's silence spoke volumes. Have communicated. But she still wouldn't give up. Josie got her first work ever, a part-time position at a local cafe. Not at all beautiful, but it made her feel proud like never before. Earning, making errors, and relying on herself were all skills she honed. She felt like she was getting more than just cash from her first paycheck. It demonstrated her independence and capability. But she and Justin did not always get along. Love, she realized, was about more than just running away together. It was all about making it through as a team. Money was a major source of contention, which led to stressful days and periods of uncertainty. Justin had a hard time empathizing with Joss's prior anguish at times. He wished he could shield her from harm, but she had to figure out how to defend herself. Even if there were difficulties, there were also lovely times. Their little apartment was filled with laughter, late-night conversations, peaceful dinners, and mornings spent planning a life that seemed completely theirs. Bit by bit, Josie started to get better. Rather than viewing herself as the rebellious daughter, she began to see herself as a woman navigating life's challenges. Finally, the letter arrived. An envelope had been slid under the door, and Josie found it one afternoon. It was her mother's handwriting, which she recognized. She resisted opening it for quite some time. Finally, tearing it open, her hands quivered. There were only a few shaky phrases penned within, devoid of any accusation or severe language. Josie, we love you. You are still our daughter, even though we don't always approve of your decisions. Have a safe journey. As she read those lines over and over, tears welled up in her eyes. No, it wasn't mercy. Love, not acceptance, was the feeling. Damned, far away, yet very much alive. Josie finally felt at peace since she left home. She no longer felt the pressure to prioritize either her family or herself. Perhaps one day they will remember me not as the one who departed, but as the one who found how to endure life, she muttered quietly as she and Justin sat on the balcony and gazed at the stars that night. With an even firmer grip on her hand, Justin smiled. And maybe one day, he pointed out, Val realized you never stopped loving them. Despite the great distance, Josie could still see the sky over her family's house. And also, she finally felt like she belonged in just one place. Her heart was complete. She still had a long way to go. Even while the pain was still there, she had found an outlet for it that was much better than defiance. All it took to start over was for her to find her own voice. Months went by in relative silence following the letter's arrival. A gentler form of grief, the kind that doesn't shatter you, but remains dormant within you like a scar, started to supplant the pain in Joseph's heart.